Whenever you see a magic act with music incorporated, you automatically think that the production values are much higher than the normal amateur magic act. Or at least I've noticed that, and I made it a goal this year, 2026, to add music to my magic act. Now, why am I telling you all of this? Because recently there's a new book on the market that purports to help you as a magician to understand and add music to your act. Since I'm working toward that end, I was extremely excited when the author, Tristan, or George Arcomanus, reached out to me to see if I'd be interested in reading what he had to say. The book that he published is called Magic Music, the book. As is the goal with pretty much any book discussion here on Erudite Magic, I want to give you some facts, but also share my opinions about the work so that you can make an informed decision on whether or not it will help you with your goals in the world of magic. A couple of quick notes about the book and the author. The book is a hardbound, approximately 150-page book with thick, creamy paper and 9 different sections. The author, as I mentioned earlier, is a young Greek magician and composer. He's been studying music and magic for pretty much his entire life and has given a number of well-received lectures, including at Blackpool, where this book officially debuted. Now, I don't know Tristan. We've interacted a little bit via Instagram, but from everything I can tell, he is well qualified to talk about this subject and indeed is very passionate about it, and that shines through in the book. But the real question is, what's in it, who's it for, and does it actually deliver on what the stated goal is? Let's dive in. In terms of what's in the book, I already mentioned the different sections, and early on in the book you'll be introduced to the author, you'll understand what his premise is, and then he quickly dives into the elements of music. What makes music music? He'll educate you about things like melody, harmony, rhythm, pulse, pauses, and how all of those not only support the music, but might end up supporting and improving your magic act. After this introduction, he then takes you into how music can set the mood and how the different elements of music can change the mood, including different ways that it can be incorporated into your act. The next section in the book is dedicated to exactly that. What types of music should be incorporated into your act, where they go into your act, and what kind of mood should they set, the tempo, and other things like that. But beyond just music, Tristan also touches on how everything has to work in harmony, which includes your voice, your facial expressions, your body, and bringing balance to all of these different things, or importantly, bringing dissonance if that's your artistic goal. He continues to elaborate and gives you many different techniques that you can use to figure out what music might play well with your act, how you can discover music, and then gives you a brief overview of copyright law, where you might obtain music or other scenarios, or would allow you to customize music for your show. The last section of the book kind of gives you an overview of each of the different chapters in a bullet point format so that you can remind and refresh yourself on the concepts that he shared with you. He tells you several times throughout the book that this is a book that is meant to be studied, not just read once and put on your shelf. Now, who is this type of book for? In my mind, it's for someone who has advanced beyond the very beginning stages of magic, now has an act of some sort that they're working on, and is looking to elevate the production values of this show for their audience. Now, I know enough about my demographic and viewership to know that's going to turn off most of you, because a lot of you just enjoy studying magic, performing tricks for friends, and you don't see yourself as having an official act that you're wanting to share with the world, much less incorporate music. However, I would encourage you that this is the type of book that will help you to elevate your art no matter what kind of magic you perform. It's not just stage shows that can use music. In fact, there was a time back when I was the president of the local IBM ring in Greenville, South Carolina, that I shared an experiment during a meeting. I performed a familiar card trick that most already knew. However, I did it to some music. And I took an informal poll after that performance to see how the music affected the mood, the atmosphere, and the overall reception of this magic trick. And for sure, it took something that was already a good trick and made it into something epic, emotional, and memorable. And the only thing I did was add some music. So I tell you that story just to say, even if you only perform close up, you only do one trick, there's still an opportunity to add music in the right situation to elevate the performance. But maybe you're the kind of magician that you don't quite feel ready for this yet because, well, you want to learn more tricks to put into your set. If that's you, then I encourage you to shop with the sponsor of this week's episode, Don's Magic and Books. Don has all kinds of magic books, whether it's theory that will help improve your performances like this book, or just learning more tricks to put in front of your audience. You're going to find trendy, new books, but you can also find everything from classics to out-of-print gems that you've wanted to acquire for your library. I love that Don does this at fantastic prices with free shipping if you meet minimum thresholds in the United States, and most most importantly, he loves magic books as much as you and me. So no matter what stage of magic you're at or what you're looking to acquire, be sure to visit Don's website, which I'll drop a link down in the description below to make it easy for you. Bookmark that page and check back frequently because he's always getting in new inventory. They don't last long at these incredible deals. No matter what you're looking for, shop with Don's Magic and Books this week. So let's talk about whether or not this book actually delivers on its stated premise. Now, I think I'm in a good position to opine on this because, well, I'm trying to add music to my show. It seems simple at first, but I think one of the things that's held me back is not necessarily the complexity of adding the music, the technical aspects, but trying to find the right fit. Tristan does a great job of explaining how music works and some of the background and theory. However, I think that for a lot of people, this isn't going to be enough to truly educate you on music. And so the first part of the book feels a little bit more like a lecture that you're not actually going to understand unless you study music. I do not have a background in music, but I did take piano for a couple of years when I was in junior high. My wife is an accomplished pianist. My kids take music lessons. So I do know a little bit about some of these concepts that he was talking about. And I thought that was very helpful for me to have already been exposed to those. If I was reading some of these definitions and thoughts for the first time, I think I'd be a little bit lost. The descriptions aren't quite long enough to really give you an education, but at the same time, I don't know that you'd be interested in reading a longer section on how music works, especially if you don't have that background. So while I appreciate the effort in explaining things and it's necessary, I think it's going to lose anybody that hasn't studied some music already. More to the point, while it's interesting, I'm not sure that it will actually help you without significant further study. I'm not sure whether this book inspired me or left me feeling a little bit hopeless about adding music to my show. Sure, I got an education. In fact, I even got some very, very practical steps on things I can do to listen to music, to try to find things for my act. But frankly, the whole thing seems a little bit daunting, especially with copyright laws, understanding music, finding that right marriage. And I'm not sure that this book made me feel any more confident or excited about doing it. Perhaps one of the author's best suggestions was to involve a professional composer. And there are several out there who cater to magicians specifically. But that's only going to be for someone who's going to be making good money on their show because it's not cheap to involve a professional who will help tailor the music, whether it's composing original pieces or even matching up the music to your act. The other route is to go it alone, to find the music yourself, to acquire royalty-free music. But again, you're still kind of on your own when it comes to what types of music you want in there, where to get it, how to make sure it fits. Like I said, the whole thing's a little bit daunting. The other thing that I feel like I wish Tristan had touched on was on how to actually incorporate the music into your show. Not just about the music and how it interplays with the magic, but literally the nuts and bolts of these are the types of technological innovations that you can use. Whether it's something like Audio Ape or Magic Cues or one of the other myriad of options that now exist. It seems to me like Tristan is focused mostly on you're going to have someone who can handle music and audio cues for you in a theater environment. And frankly speaking, that's just not practical for most magicians. So I wish he would have touched a little bit on that, even though I understand it's far outside the scope of a book to hold your hand and walk you through each step of that. Let's talk for a second about where you can get this book if you're interested and the value prop. There's a fairly limited distribution of this book. Of course, it was released at Blackpool and you can purchase it on magictricks.gr. It retails for 70 euros or about $80 at the time of this video. From my perspective, I understand that this is the author's life work and that he's poured all of his knowledge and heart into this book, but I think this is a bit on the expensive side for what at least I got out of it. If you are serious about learning about music, then I think that this is a great first step to help you perceive how it could be incorporated in your magic, and it does have practical steps. But for the vast majority of people, I'm not sure that this book is going to help them achieve their goal any quicker than potentially just hiring an expert to help you out. At the end of the day, I feel like this book came from an awesome place. Someone who absolutely loves music, knows a ton about it, and wants to share that with the world to help make magic performances better by incorporating the harmony of beautifully matched up music that can elevate the mood and the emotion of the music into the magic. That's exactly what I want for my show. However, after reading it, I don't know that I'm any closer to my goal than I was before. Let me know what you think though. Are you interested in adding music to your act? What kind of questions do you have about doing so? I'm going to be writing more about my process in my newsletter, the Erudite Magic Digest, and I'll drop a link down in the description below so that you can subscribe to that free publication. As always, my friend, I truly appreciate you watching, and until next time, keep reading.